By request, here are some additional thoughts on discovery, something I first addressed way back in episode number 12 of Brent's Breakdown. The interesting thing about discovery is, first of all, just how badly the name matches the thing that we're trying to do. So, something I talked about in the first episode, episode 12 on this topic, is that, in fact, when we set out to discover customers' needs, or if we're trying to be more customer centric and we discover the outcomes that customers are seeking to achieve inside their own organization, there's an implicit assumption that they actually know what they're trying to do. So the underlying reality is already there, and our job is to simply to discover it. That is to take the cover off of it, to find what's already existing, and just make sure that we can document what the customer already knows. And in episode 12, I talked a lot about the fact in reality that many times customers simply don't know exactly what they want to know, or are simply open to being challenged on what they know. And more to the point, they're likely not aligned with their colleagues on what they're trying to do or their outcomes. So go back and listen to episode 12 perhaps, and let's get deeper into this discovery idea, because I think that the first thing we want to do is, of course, think about the outcomes that our customers are ultimately trying to achieve. Many of us have moved to more of an outcome-based selling approach, which totally makes sense. But again, it's not just simply a matter of like a matching exercise, right? I've got a list, a spreadsheet of like the 50 different customer outcomes that they might seek to achieve, maybe organized by industry vertical. So there's 5 per industry. And I go to some stakeholder in that industry and say, which of these 5 are you? And they may not know. And it's not exactly how it goes down in reality, of course, but that's kind of effectively what's happening, is this sort of matching exercise. But I think the better way to think about it is a co-creation or a co-articulation, perhaps, of an outcome. So maybe you lead with a hypothesis. I'm guessing, in working with other customers like you, it's probably one of these 3 outcomes you're looking to achieve based on what I know of your company, what I've read perhaps in the business press, what I know from some companies similar to yours. You get agreement on that, but then we have to talk a little bit more about, what do other stakeholders inside that organization care about? What are the outcomes that they're seeking to achieve? Are they the same? Would they articulate them with the same language? But even then, we've just begun to start the discovery journey, because in fact, the discovery journey is this very collaborative, creative process where we then have to take that outcome and parse it into its component elements, something I've addressed in maybe ad nauseum in previous episodes around, okay, so if that's the outcome, the state that we're seeking to achieve, why are we trying to do it? What's our objective? Then what are the tactics we'll seek to pursue in order to meet that objective? What are the metrics we'll use to measure our progress, the targets we'll set to know when we arrive, and the timeline that should take, the amount of time it takes to get there? And all of that can't be discovered so much as created or maybe co-articulated with customers. All right, so all of that in many ways is captured in at least a quick review of episode 12 and maybe an expansion on it. But there's a whole nother side to discovery too, which is almost the more selfish supplier perspective of qualification, because these two kind of go hand in hand, don't they? Which is, all right, as I'm going on that journey of working collaboratively with customers and trying to connect those customer stakeholders, not just to me, but to each other across their outcomes and their objectives and tactics and metrics and targets and timelines. The question I have to constantly then ask at the same time is, okay, depending on what I'm learning here, how valuable is this opportunity for us in our organization? Does it look like it's worthy of my time as a sales professional, a success professional? Does it look like it's worthy of the resources of our organization to pursue, such that it lands in a commercial opportunity that is sufficiently large to justify all of the time and effort it took to go through this effort in the first place? Thus, it's essentially the sense of opportunity cost of time. And one of the things we learned way back when at the corporate executive board and the sales executive council was the fact that star performing sellers run a completely different qualification strategy than core performing sellers. The difference between what we call the nail and the wedge. What is all that about? Well, the wedge is simply that if you think about a very tall, skinny isosceles triangle tipped on its side, so it looks like, well, a wedge, that we find for most core performers is how they tend to qualify. They put everything into the funnel and they pursue it all with equal vigor, equal attention, equal time, equal effort. And then over time, they'd sort of qualify out those things which maybe don't meet the certain criteria of our organization, our ICP, our MEDPIC, and our BANT, and all the other thousands of different criteria that we use to qualify accounts. But everything goes in, everything gets pursued with equal attention and effort and time, and then we qualify out. Star performers, on the other hand, they run a qualification metric, a qualification strategy that we often refer to as the nail, which is it's a wide top at the beginning. So if you think about the funnel, it's like so it's very wide at the beginning, but then it narrows very, very rapidly. So I look at everything and I qualify instead of qualifying out, I qualify in. Something has to be worthy of my time for pursuit in the first place, and I only pursue those things that meet that initial set of metrics or set of criteria that I know to be definitional of a quality of an opportunity worthy of my time. Now, this only works, of course, if I have in my mind and our organization has collectively a set of very clear criteria of an opportunity worthy of our time in the first place. And one of those criteria might, in fact, be the degree to which those stakeholders are aligned across all of those dimensions of outcomes, objectives, and so on that I mentioned at the top of the video. And so this is where I think it becomes really important to think about this really tight relationship between discovery and qualification, because discovery is all about not just taking the cover off and finding what's already there, but seeing if I, in a short amount of time, can create a situation inside that organization where those stakeholders are aligned across all those dimensions. And if I can, that becomes an opportunity worthy of my pursuit, worthy of being in the pipeline with a number against it, with resources deployed against it. And if not, that opportunity is at best suspect and should sit at the very top of the funnel until more time, more effort, more attention can be paid to it, such that we can determine whether that alignment is there in the first place. And so it's not just a discovering customers' needs. What do you need? Oh, we can totally do that. Let's call this an opportunity. But rather to think very carefully about what's worth our time in the first place and what are the things that would even make something worthy of our time. And I think one of the biggest overlooked criteria, because we got our med picks and our BANTs and our ICPs and everything else, does it match our needs? Does it match what we want? But I think one of the best qualification metrics is, are they even agreed on what they're trying to do in the first place? Something to think about as you engage in something you might call discovery. I would probably call value framing and then qualifying as a result.